Hello, I'm Jeff Harold with the Lake County Art League, and I'm here talking to John Plishka. Did I do that right, or did I mess it up again?
You did it perfect. Yep.
Okay,
You're
good,
good.
good. We had a discussion about how to pronounce this before we got onto this, so I finally did it right here. Okay, and John is a fantastic pastel artist. Some of the stuff that we'll show you is really incredible. You saw some of that in the uh, opening scenes there. But John, all right, tell us a little bit about your background, your unusual background for an artist, and how you got into this, and why pastel.
Well, first of all, it's an honor to be here. Thanks for having me. Oh boy, it's I my mom. I always loved to paint and draw, even since I was little. My mom was very artistic, though she never really had a chance to kind of um, pursue any of that. She actually got me into oil painting when I was really young, and when I got into junior high, were experimenting with different types of media, and we had our pastel session, and I loved it. It was great. I loved the ability to blend a lot of colors and things like that, cover wide swaths of the paper with a few strokes of the pastel, and so I really enjoyed that. Kept painting all the way through high school. I actually had a chance at an art scholarship, but I also loved science and I loved animals and still love animals. And so I chose the scientific route and actually became a veterinarian. And really, at that point, kind of really hadn't done much art wise. And after the kids were growing up and kind of getting settled into my career, I started to paint and draw again. Really, mostly drawing, but painting with pastels. But um, and so that kind of slowly started to get more serious about it and enjoying it more and more and more. And then I actually took some classes at the North Shore Art League. Fran Vale. I took some classes with Fran, and she was really instrumental in helping
Oh,
me kind of get to the next level, I guess, with
yeah,
small
he,
little tips and things
yeah.
like that.
As a matter of
Um,
fact, Fran is going to be judging our spring member show over at
yeah,
College Lake
yep,
County.
yep. And so Fran is amazing. Everything she did is just instill a lot of confidence in me and basically saying, hey, you know what? You can do this. You could, you can try to really take your art to the next level. And so I kind of slowly started entering like some contests and shows and stuff, and was actually doing well. Um, and from there, it just became, working more and more and more on the things. And animals, obviously, too, are my favorite subject. I'm not in practice anymore. I had to retire for some health reasons, and now I teach vet tech students, and which I really love. But my career of being with animals all the time really um, solidified them as kind of my subject. My amazement of them in so many different aspects. I mean, it's kind of neat when you think about it, right? Animals they can migrate without GPS. They can sense magnetic fields. They can produce light. They're bioluminescent. They can do all sorts of amazing things. And
Yep.
so it's really, they're really cool. And
Okay.
so I guess
So,
for me, I was going to say for pastels, kind of why did I choose pastels? Again, I think for me, it's the ability. I think you can really render a lot of great textures with pastels.
yeah.
They're great for the softness of hair. You can make, hard things like claws and beaks and things like that. Feathers, again, the softness of feathers. You can kind of blend the edges of the pastels to kind of give a really soft feel to them. But yeah, you can still
Yeah.
get hard textures as well. So that's why I think I
Yeah.
really love them for animals.
Okay. All right. So, one thing, now that you've explained how much you dislike animals, as I said, my mom and I tell people when we meet when they're walking their dogs, and we say, "Oh, we hate animals. Here, let us pet your little dog."
Yeah, exactly.
Spoil them. But
I'm the
you
same
seem
way.
to have your own menagerie at home.
Yeah. We
What
got
you want to run through that literary that
yeah.
list?
They're all adoptees, so we got except for the reptiles. We have two dogs. Millie and Minnie, which is great because their names sound the same. So all I have to do is call one and they both come, which is nice. Uh, but Millie's a lab hound mix, and then Minnie is she's a lab beagle mix. And then we have three cats, including one's a diabetic now, and so it requires a lot of time and attention. And then we have a three-legged cat where I had to amputate. She had a really bad injury when she was very little, so I had to amputate her one leg. So we have our little fuzzy tripod at home, and she's probably the most affectionate cat we've ever had. And then we have one we adopted a little bit ago who needed some hip surgery on that, so I finished that. That was the last surgery before I retired. And then we have Fish, and then we have a veiled chameleon who has been the subject of some of my art. And then
Who is
also,
an award winner too. We talked about
yes,
that.
yeah,
Award-winning
he's kind of
model here.
famous. Yeah, he made it into the Pastel Journal. He was an honorable mention in the Pastel Journal 100. So yeah, he's kind of a little bit famous there too. And they actually used him for their advertising for the pet show that they have too. They used that picture as well.
Ah.
So yeah, he's a little bit more on he's a little celebrity. And then we have a corn snake who was really tiny when we got her. Actually, the reptiles were my daughter's idea. She wanted them, and of course now she's moved off to college, so I'm left taking care of them. But she's about now. The snake is about 5.5 feet long, so she's quite getting sizable there. And so yeah, that kind of rounds it out. We had some birds, but they had passed away about a year ago. So yeah, they keep us busy, and they're a constant. In truth, they're a constant source of fun and smiles. It's hard not to, right? When you come home, the dogs are all happy to see you. The cats even will jump up like on the couch and start wanting to want to be petted and start rubbing on your hand, and I'll be lying on the couch and
Oh
they
yeah.
jump up on my chest and
Oh
all
yeah.
sorts of fun stuff like that. So I've shared my life with animals ever since I was real tiny. We also, growing up, my dad let us keep everything that he had found like injured and would bring home. So we had a duck, a pigeon, a turtle at one point in time. So that's probably where I got, my love of animals for so long of just having them around all the time. And yeah,
uh,
they're amazing. They really
that's
are.
great.
I'm in constant awe of them, of what they can do and
Oh
how they
yeah.
see the world, how they see us, things like that.
Yeah. We were talking about that before we got going on this interview. But yeah, I love animals. I've got four bird feeders in the back. I got one or three in the front. Got
Yeah.
three bird bass, one
Yeah.
heated that's open all winter that they we
Nice.
we
They need that.
they oh they get in it and I'm surprised, it's a little sauna for them or a little whirlpool,
Yeah.
that's whatever you call it,
Exactly. It is.
jacuzzi, that's the
Yeah,
word
it's a
I'm looking
jacuzzi for
for.
it. Yep.
And they go
Yeah.
crazy. So, but yeah, we love animals too. So, and actually, that's where I started taking. Last summer, I started a project of photographing birds. So,
Oh, yeah.
I got some interesting photographs of some birds too that I'm continue working on this year. So,
Yeah.
anyways, back to you. All right. Let's look at the three pictures a little closer. Okay, that we showed in the beginning here. And here we go. This to me is amazing.
Thank
Uh,
you.
I mean, you got the scales. I mean, okay, how long did it take you to do this?
Ah, I don't keep track of hours, but I would probably put it upwards of 40 to 50, probably.
Wow.
Um, it was, it, it's a really interesting piece, and I love it for a lot of different reasons. One of the biggest ones is just perseverance. I had started in the upper left. Yeah,
I can
exactly.
understand that. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I worked from upper left to lower right, because right hand, I don't want the pastels to smudge. So I was working in that upper left corner, and I got about 6 or 7 or 8 rows of scales in, and then my eyes started getting crossed, and I seriously had wondered, what am I doing, with this? This is impossible. I'm never going to be able to do it. And I I put it away for a few days and just kind of excuse me, cleared my head and went back to it and basically said, "No, I'm going to do this. This is a really cool um, painting." It was from a reference from a zoo we were at. I can't remember where. Every time we go to a new city, we always have to go to the zoo. So, um, so
So, do you do a lot of your pictures from photographs?
yeah, yeah, pretty much exclusively from photos. Animals just never sit still long enough to be able to paint them plein air, so to speak.
Oh
So
yeah,
um,
I found that out trying to photograph the birds.
birds, exactly. Yeah, I mean, you have to sit there, do a lot of field work for animal art, and
You have to get
um,
lucky too. I mean,
yes,
just
very
in
much so.
photographing because I got some
Yep,
shots that just happened to be. I was there at the right place at the right time, which helps with the luck. But then the
absolutely.
luck of the bird just all of a sudden just showing up and whoa, right there. I got a
Yep,
catbird. He landed on a large branch, and I got an actually beautiful close-up picture of him because he stayed for about 5 seconds and took off. But I
yep.
had my camera
That's
there and I had my arms and I was quick enough to get it. But
yep.
yeah, they move.
Yep, yeah, you literally have, like you mentioned, oftentimes with animals, they are in a nice pose and in your frame of your camera. Or I'm far from a great professional photographer, but I stay out there with a lot for a long time, and I just take a lot of photos. And like you, sometimes you get lucky and you get that really really good one. But they are often literally there for 5, 10 seconds at most, and then
Yep,
they're gone.
yep,
So yeah, so I worked from take my reference photos, and so it's just a great composition. I really am a firm believer in solid compositions.
oh yeah,
With animal art, there's a ton of the floating heads. I've heard it said, with a lot of portraiture and stuff, and you
yeah,
can do great portraits without having the floating head. So um, so anyway, that it was a great exercise in perseverance. Again, I started ending up kind of drawing really light lines of the feather pattern scale patterns. Um, and then I learned a lot on this painting from the standpoint too of the way really studying how the being a huge big observer, right, is a big part of art.
yeah,
And just observing the light on each scale and realizing that every single scale is going to have a highlight and a mid tone, and then a shadow, and
yeah,
kind of going through all that. And so after all that work, it came out really, really, really nice. I had just become a member of the Society of Animal Artists. I was juried in as an associate member, and which for me was a huge, huge success. It's one of the things I had always dreamed about. So many of my influences in animal art, like Robert Bateman and all those sorts of things, they're members of that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in the same group as him. And um,
well,
and
well
so
deserved.
well, thank you. This painting got admitted into the show. The first time I applied actually for one of their shows, this painting got in. And then after it got in, after I got the jury letter, um, like 2 days later, I got a call from the executive director there, and he said, "Hi, John. This is Wes, and I'd love to. We voted during our jurying, and we'd love to have your painting coil on the cover of the catalog for the show."
Oh,
And
great.
I was like, "Oh my God, you're kidding!"
Yeah,
And so my jaw just dropped. And so yeah, they used this painting on as the cover art for their annual members show. And
oh, that's great.
yeah, and for me, it was just such a validation of that, and again, giving me a lot of confidence. But just
Yeah,
after all that hard work of putting in and trying to get everything right on this painting,
yeah,
and then and then I was fortunate enough to be able to go to the show, and then I met a lot of my favorite animal artists there, and to have them come up to me and just say, "John, this is an amazing piece. This is so cool.
yeah.
Welcome, to the society." I was just like, "Oh my God, this is." so,
Oh yeah, yeah,
so yeah,
yeah.
this is, and
I understand.
I kind of had used a gold reflective pastel on the eye, and
Yeah,
So that was kind of really neat, adding little touches here and
Oh,
there.
that
And so,
does. Yeah, well, that's one of the things I like is the highlights in the eye there. It brings it up. But your whole composition is absolutely wonderful.
no, thank you. Yeah, I try to spend a lot of time on composition, often with my reference photos, kind of my whole process. I'll get my reference photos, something that interests me, and then I'll start playing around with different crops. I'll play around with different shadows and things, and
Yeah.
then go through that. And but really, the composition is 8/10ths of the battle, honestly, if you
Yeah,
got to
that's
really.
yeah, that's one of the things I teach photography over at the College of Lake County, and
Okay, cool.
for the beginners, the first thing I tell them is, you're showing me pictures here that are perfectly fine exposure wise, and sharpness, what have you, because the cameras are so wonderful. They take care of most of that for you. But what you're usually not satisfied with, what makes you feel you're not getting a good photograph, is the composition.
Yeah. No,
And sometimes
exactly.
it's the subject too, but most times it's the composition. So that's my first
Yes.
day of classes is teaching them all the different rules and methods of composition. So
Yeah. And it's something subtle that, people don't even notice. It's interesting. People who are in your field, like fellow photographers, fellow artists, they'll come up to you and say, "That's a killer composition. That's really, really
oh
good."
yeah,
Most people don't notice it. They just know that they
yeah,
like it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And
Well,
it's because of that composition that they like it.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Um,
we were talking about Mike Latala earlier, and I did the interview with him, and I showed him one of my works, and the composition. It's a portrait of a Cyrus Afsar. He was a president of the Oil Painters American show, and he was doing a judging, and it is without doubt the only picture that I can remember outside of one of uh, uh, one of Degas, where there's so many elements of composition combined in that make it such a strong picture. And so he loved it. So he said, "Hey,
yeah.
I'm using this for my classes as an example."
Yeah.
But
Oh,
the
exactly.
composition is just one and what I don't particularly care for. Well, I shouldn't I say I don't care for. I don't see it. Is people using composition to its full extent to tell stories. All right,
Yeah.
and there's
Excellent point.
one painting by Degas that the Bellini family, and it
Yep.
was he was a I forget who it was, a cousin or uncle or something like that. Anyways, he painted this picture of the family and its mother, father, two daughters, and by the composition, you can tell exactly what the relationship is between among the people.
Yep.
I
Isn't that
mean,
cool?
and
Yep.
it's just it's just wonderful, and it's using composition to tell a story, or
Yeah.
just to make a more powerful picture, if nothing else.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that. The story I kind of wanted to have with this is we talked a little bit about it beforehand too, that so many people have a fear of snakes, and for me, I actually like to paint a lot of animals that sometimes people don't think are the most beautiful, or sometimes are kind of neglected, and on that aspect, it kind of for me is trying to get the person to realize like there is kind of beauty and majesty in every single creature on this earth.
Oh
Now,
yeah,
granted, you don't like them, but they are there for a purpose,
yeah,
and um, and it's amazing. What I wanted to kind of portray with this one is for people to kind of look deeper inside the outer shell of an animal and kind of
yeah,
get to the inner center of it,
yeah,
and by doing so kind of try to see all the cool things going on with that, try to
yeah,
see the eye, the scales, the colors that are in there, and maybe take a second look and say, hey, this thing isn't as as scary or creepy as I thought it was. It's actually kind of beautiful.
yeah.
you know
Oh yeah. Okay, let's go on to another one here. Your other one. This is the koi,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
again, it's just I find it amazing. It to me when you first look at it, it does look like the actual fish coming out of the water for a food.
No, well, thank you again. Yeah, this one was really interesting as well. This is again another zoo pick. They had a pond there and a little bridge, and over. when you walk over the bridge, the koi have been so used to, um, people feeding them all the time that they're coming up to the surface and their mouths are ready to eat. And the uh, the thing I like about this one and kind of composition, everything else, is that typically most koi paintings you see that are done are still looking at the koi underwater and all the beautiful reflections and everything, and often in
Yeah.
kind of a swirl. But again, I kind of wanted to focus in more on the animal and
Yeah. Yeah. That's
then
good.
take a look at it and see, and it's kind of popping up out of the water um, it's kind of not your typical koi painting. I do try to again be kind of different in a lot of my animal art from what you're used to seeing from most animal artists. And I actually kind of consider myself more an animal artist who paints in pastel than kind of more of a
Yeah.
pastel artist. But this is this one was fun because I had a lot of challenges and it was interesting to try to get the water and the colors in the water properly. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's kind of neat little. It kind of fades out from each animal, the little color, and then the bubbles and everything. So I wanted to kind of get a sense of motion around the fish as well, and and of course, kind of be more up close to them. Because again, that's what I was used to my whole life was being kind of really up close
Oh,
to
yeah.
all different animals. So uh, kind of again portraying them in a different way and again the reflections. I really don't do much water in a lot of my paintings. I've only done a couple, so it was kind of fun to do that and a neat little challenge. This painting also got accepted to a Society of Animal Arts show, and it again was so cool to be able to be there. I'm in awe of a lot of the stuff that other animal artists do, and in the show it was hanging next to a really kind of in the animal art world famous conservationist and artist um, Carl Peter Brest Van Kampen, and he's does these huge ecological paintings. He's just amazing, and so I
Yeah.
couldn't believe I was hanging next to him in the show. It was really cool.
Okay, we got another one here, a little bit different because you have much quieter tones on here and colors.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah. This is again. I love rendering textures, like I said, with pastels, and so I think this was a great example of this. And
yeah,
um, you
and
know,
and you and I were talking about this, and I'll show you because what amazes me is I don't see this very often. The treatment of the wood, the bark and everything peeling off of it, and he's gonna John's gonna let me show you another picture, a combination here of
yep.
his and mine. Okay. On the one side is his. On the other side is a picture of a screech owl that I took a couple weeks ago. But what amazes me is if you look at the bark, okay, in both pictures, and John's really picked up the actual texture, the actual construction of the bark. Okay, which is what I really like about this one picture of his. And like I say, I don't know that I see that often in actual paintings, as opposed to, in photographs. Obviously, in a photograph, you're going to pick it up because that's what you're photographing. But it's just uh, a wonderful, a texture.
No, thank you. Yeah. Like I said, the texture thing. The neat thing is very similar to the scale screen. I love detail, as you obviously can
Yeah.
tell.
Oh yeah. Oh
For
yeah.
me, the details of an animal are what make it really cool. Feather patterns, or again, its eye, its beak. And in this case, I actually had the neat opportunity to try to render the wood and I love painting wood, and the bark is really really neat. I love to be able to try to almost make it so like you feel you could reach out and like peel off some of that old dead bark, you know,
Yes. Yes.
and you'll hear it snap and crack as you're doing it. Um, and so, yeah, that was one really, really neat thing about it. This this painting is really kind of neat from a few different aspects here too. Not only the subject, I love owls. They are one of my favorite birds to paint. I've painted a few of them now, and they are also, again, just evolutionarily, they are incredible hunters and just really, really cool birds. Again, their feather patterns, their ability to camouflage, all that amazing, how they can
Oh yeah,
fly silently and all sorts of
yeah.
neat stuff like that. But um, this bird, this bird was actually a little bit of a celebrity. Maybe some of the people watching this will know, but he was at Hastings Lake in one of the preserves there. He showed up for 2 consecutive years in the same tree. This one was from the second year. I didn't get any great pictures the first year of him.
Okay, where? Okay, all right. Now you got to tell me where in Hastings Lake.
Oh, Hastings Lake is by the YMCA in
Yeah, no,
Lindenhurst.
no. I go to Hastings Lakes all the time.
Yeah, yep.
Okay,
So
and
that's the lake right
I'm
behind it.
asking you because that's where I shot this guy.
No way.
Yep,
Wow.
just a couple
Neat.
of weeks ago.
Yeah, interesting. So that's kind of cool. It's a neat little kind of habitat area that it looks like a different tree.
Yeah.
So I think it is obviously
Well,
a two.
it may be. I bet it's in the same area because my little guy is. If you go to Hastings Lake, you go down by the beach, the boat ramp, where you
Yes.
boat float in, and then you go
Yep.
on farther around towards the YMCA camp.
Yes. Yep.
That's where we found this guy.
Yeah. Ours, the one we saw was a little bit closer. Yep. We kind of usually start out and go to the right, taking the trail from the south. And
Yeah,
but yeah, it is in the same general area. In the winter, they say they like to they'll face north so that the sun coming in, will be coming into them to kind of warm up and such. So um, but that's incredible. That's actually really neat. We went out on the hike when we first saw him like 3 years ago because I don't think he's been there. Well, he hasn't been there this year, and I think the year before. So that would make it what 4 years ago. I actually told my wife we went out on a walk on Hastings, and I said I would love to find an owl. I've never found an owl in the wild actually just on like a hike and actually seeing one. And so we actually went and I was kind of looking in all the little nooks and crannies everywhere, and I saw some feathers fluttering at the edge. And we went underneath, saw another tree, and lo and behold, that owl was right there.
yeah,
And it was amazing actually to find one on a day we specifically went looking for one. Was really pretty incredible. And then a lot of people knew about him. They were posting on Facebook
oh
about him and
yeah,
everything. So yeah, he
yeah.
became a little celebrity, and
Well,
uh,
well, yeah. That's
go
how I
ahead.
found out. But that's how I found out about this guy is
Yeah.
one of my friends, Chuck Hiller, another fantastic artist. Uh, he lives right there and he walks around Hastings Lakes all the time. So when I'm over there walking, every once in a while we run into each other or anything. Anyways, he told me about it. So I went over and try to find it. And I found it one day and didn't really get anything I liked as far as photographs. And I decided, okay, I know the guy's in there. So I took one of those portable chairs you
Yeah.
know, a
That's
canvas
awesome.
scared. I took a chair, took my tripod, I walked all the way back there, sat down in
Yeah.
the chair, and I just waited for that guy to come out, for him to stick
Yeah.
his head out. And
Yeah. Absolutely
after an
perfect.
hour and a half of sitting there waiting for him, he finally came
Yeah.
out.
Well, you bring up a really good point for animal art in general is really putting in the time for field work.
Yes.
I do see something that really kind of occasionally bothers me a lot, and maybe that's what gives um, some animal artists, kind of regardless of media. I'm talking with other animal artists. It's been interesting talking with the people like in the Society of Animal Artists and stuff. That animal art generally is kind of viewed, not totally, but sometimes there's that impression that maybe it's kind of a little bit lower than some of the other types of art. And
Yeah.
I almost wonder if it's because a lot of animal artists don't put in the field time and don't get their own references and they're using someone else's references. And
Well,
though it's fine for them to go ahead and um, for their practice, whatever, that's awesome, even if they want to sell it. But it gets to be a little bit of a sore spot from people talking to them when people are entering contests and using other people's photos for reference. A lot of times
yeah.
the photographer has done all the awesome field work, done the
Oh yeah.
composition, done all the
Yeah.
hard work, and so that's where I think it kind of sometimes gets tough. So,
Well,
but it just puts
the
just when you're doing your own reference, it puts the soul into the picture.
yeah.
And you see it,
The
you've
thing,
been
yeah,
photographed.
the problem I have with photographers is they have these photo farms And that's where a lot of these photographs you see out there on web and Instagram, what have you, they go to this photo farm and they'll set up. They have a fairly tame wolf or something, or maybe even have a lion or
Yeah.
something, or they have an
Yep.
eagle, that's can't go anywhere, and so they set it up for you, and you take the shot, and it's
Yeah.
like okay,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, I give you
Yeah.
credit for getting a good shot, but quite frankly, I don't think much of the fact that you didn't put any work into it and didn't learn anything
Yeah.
about the habitat or the habits,
Oh, yeah.
where he's going and
Exactly. And
everything.
yeah.
And
And
I'd rather see the
no.
stuff, that I like my stuff because I go out, I everything I do, I shoot out,
Yep.
it's it's
Yeah.
there. I go out and find it.
And you don't have to if for people say, okay, I can't do that. That's fine. I see that. Not everyone has the opportunity to go on safari, but there are a ton of, or to go to different things or to spend 3 hours in the field. I get that. But
Yeah,
at the same time, the world is all around you. These things are all around you. I have done
yeah,
a number of paintings from animals that have been in my backyard. You know,
yeah.
I,
Oh,
I've sat in my backyard.
I got a great shot of the of, of a buck. He had to be like an 8 pointer or something. He's standing there. He's staring at me. I got him face on. He's staring at me because he's standing out here at my bird feeders. And so
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
shooting him through my sliding
Isn't that
glass
awesome?
doors.
Yeah.
And I have a number of pictures from birds. Just in
Yeah.
the backyard. And
Yeah.
that's actually my project that I'm working on is to photograph birds the way people normally don't see bird photographs.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
because and I shoot some like that where it's called bird on a stick.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's a bird that's on a branch, and they're
Yeah.
good photographs and
Yeah.
identify the bird. But I'm looking for different views of them. Something at least. I got one that's
Yep.
called "Getting the Morning Buzz." What it is, it's a cedar waxwing. I got a absolutely beautiful shot of him sitting on a branch with a bee in his mouth.
Nice. Yeah.
You
See,
know,
things like
and
that, portraying
that
the animal in a different way,
yeah,
yeah, that's an awesome photo. And like you
that
said, being at the right place at the right time, is
yeah,
critical to that. But it involves spending a lot of time in the field. And
yeah,
so that kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit sometimes for some of those things. Some places are more and more saying like you cannot enter a piece of art unless you're the one who's taking the reference photo. And I
yeah,
like that a lot better because again, I don't think the photographers get enough credit. Honestly, they put one little photo
yeah,
reference, so and so, and that's it. And it's the
yeah.
photographer who's done all the work. He's done the field work. He's put in the time. He's edited it. He's composed it. And all you're doing is copying it. And so,
Yeah.
so that again, I'll get off my soapbox at this time, but it kind of rubs me the wrong way.
That's all right. We both have the same soapbox here,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah. Again, I think it kind of gives animal artists a little bit more, kind of brings it down a little bit. You don't see quite the same thing with people who are painting landscapes and such, right? At least from
Yeah.
what I'm aware of. Maybe I'm wrong, but you don't see them painting other people's references a lot of the times. They're the ones out doing plein air landscaping and
Probably,
stuff like that.
yeah, probably not too often. Uh,
Yeah.
I had one fellow artist who saw a picture I did. Where was it? It's uh, the seminary, whatever it is in Mundelein.
Oh
But
yeah. Yep.
anyways, I took a picture of this little creek going back, and it's a common picture, and that's why I never really showed it or anything. But
Yeah.
she asked me if she could use it, and paint, do a painting from it. And I said, fine, go ahead.
Yeah.
Something like
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
uh,
Yeah, and again for personal use and for painting, or you want to do it and give it to your friends or family, or even if I don't know the ethics so much on trying to sell it per se, but on the you know that's probably not the best thing. But yeah, that doesn't get help the photographer at all or anything like that, so that's not cool. But
yeah,
anyway, yeah, that's something there that just look in your backyard. If you can't put in
yeah,
the field time, man, you can find everything. My toad painting that I did was just something that was in the backyard during summer. My cicada painting landed on the deck, you know. So that stuff is
uh,
all around. It's great.
I
My
had
one
I
house
had one
painting was the end of the
I had
block, you know.
one picture I wish I could have had. My wife and I are sitting on our deck up here one summer, and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, this dragonfly comes flying up, lands right on my nose, just facing me, looking at me. I say, Helen, Helen, look, Helen, you know.
It's awesome.
Well,
Yeah,
got so
what a
excited
neat
about
thing.
that, I lost my earbud.
Yeah, yeah. See, exactly. Oh, no,
Yeah,
it's
but there's
great.
some like that that I'd love to, really see. Okay. Anyway, let's head out to your website here for a few minutes. Uh, and let's go to your gallery if I can find it here. Okay, this is
Right a minute
always
ago.
there we go. Now you do a lot of
Yeah,
equine,
that's a
whatever how you
yep.
pronounce it.
I say
Also,
equine. Yeah,
okay,
I actually when I started getting serious about my art, it was horses that I started
yeah,
doing a lot of, and slowly started branching out from there more and more. So yeah, this one is one of my favorites. It's from the we just got back from there again. My son lives out in Arizona, and so they have the Salt River wild horse herd out there, and so getting out there and photographing them is really, really, really neat. I just finished a painting yet. It's trying to get it into a show or two, so I haven't posted it yet until jurying is done. That one is kind of neat, but this one was from last year, and it's so neat to watch wild horses. I mean, just the way they
yeah.
interact and how they
Well, I like the way you got the shadows of the branches on him too.
yeah,
Okay,
that was a
and you got
challenge.
you got a branch out, you got some branches there showing the shadows, and that's
that
something that would be
I
you know, whatever.
yeah, I had
It just
debated. Yeah, I had debated actually putting in the branches or not, and I had done it initially without, and I was like, I got to give those shadows some context. So,
yeah,
so I went ahead and put the branches back in. I edited out a few other ones, when I painted it, and I actually edited out excuse me, as a stallion, and he had scars all over him. He had a couple big ones on his cheek that I was like, I don't need to paint those. It's going to be kind of a little bit
yeah,
too distracting.
yeah,
So I just wanted to let the kind of the painting speak for itself, and then
yeah,
wanted to make a big contrast between warm and cool colors. So
yeah,
being in the shade, everything underneath is kind of cooler, and then everything above is warmer tones. So
yeah.
um,
To me it also gives it some context as far as the horse is someplace, it's a place
yes,
he's at,
exactly.
it's
Yeah,
not just
for
him
sure.
stand, picture of a horse, painting of a horse just standing there.
Yeah,
Uh, so
nope, exactly.
I like it. Okay,
This
what do we
excuse
got
me,
here? Okay,
this one's an interesting one. This is a horse on an Amish farm. We have a little cabin up in central Wisconsin, and there's a lot of Amish up there. And this was a daylight painting, and I just wanted to emphasize a lot of the basic shadows on this. And so what I did is kind of editing and thinking about it. I basically upped the shadows significantly on this and accented the highlights and ended up with kind of this neat um, very contrasty type of painting, and then I just changed the background to kind of accent the highlights more so, and having the little shading in the top again to little context of where light might be coming from
yeah,
through there. But yeah,
that's
it's kind of
nice.
neat. I typically will up shadows a lot and increase highlights and try to get a little bit more contrast in there. For me, it makes it more dramatic, for those. And then once I am satisfied with my reference, I'll either print it out and work from that, or I'll work from my laptop.
Yeah.
And you
It's
know,
almost like a black and white photo. I mean,
yeah,
it's the
yeah,
contrast there and everything.
yep,
Okay, let's go down and see what else we got here. We can look at here. Oh, the zebras are nice. Uh,
yeah. It's a neat composition one again too. Kind of draw your eye with all the different
yeah,
patterns to get to the eyes, and then kind of the stripes again to bring it back down. So it's got kind of a neat flow when you're kind of looking at it and going back
yeah.
and forth. And a neat observation thing again that a lot of people don't think about. They always think of zebras being black and white, and they're really not. They're mostly brown and rust
Ah,
color and darker. There are some blacks in there, um,
yeah,
but yeah, there's often a redness to that to the blacks, as well that kind of shows up, especially under bright light. So
yeah,
really kind of neat.
yeah. Yeah, we have an artist Les Scott in our league who's a fantastic scratchboard artist, and he did
Mhm.
a scratchboard of zebras like that, and it's just really wonderful.
Yeah, they're great, for the contrast of everything too with some of that stuff. Generally, the paintings I have up near the top have been recently added, so they're more newer. As
Yeah,
you go down to bottom of
yeah,
each category, those are my older ones. So,
yeah. I look at some of these this one with the there that I just sort of highlighted. Uh,
yeah,
it
yeah.
just reminds me of a photograph, and I can't think of his name. I have one of his photographs here. Famous photographer. I can't think of his
Yes.
name. He actually has, and he does just basically Western and
Mm,
native type things like Argentina, South America, stuff like that, as well as
yeah.
out west. Uh, and he actually has an entire room in an Italian museum or a gallery that is devoted permanently to his work. All
Wow.
right. So that made, but this sort of
That's
reminds me
cool.
of one of his pictures because his pictures basically just, he's looking over the back of the horse into the background,
Hmm.
and it's a
Yeah.
really wonderful picture.
Thank
But
you. Yeah,
I
this was
like this too. Yeah.
one of my clients when I was in practice. She had a number of horses, and so she invited me out one day. She goes, "You want to take a picture of some of my horses and use them for some of your paintings?" So I went out there with my camera and spent all day getting all sorts of neat photos. And anybody who knows horses, this is great. It's a horses do this all the time, and they're
Yeah.
very social animals, and they love being together. And so, kind of fun things like that kind of help, put the painting into perspective, and again, make it a little bit more tangible and realistic that way as well. That
Yeah.
one where the horse is looking up with the shadow of actually the one below, the two on the left are actually in your screen right now are also some of her horses that I
Ah.
painted. Again, the top one was during the day, and again, I just tried to emphasize the lighting and things like that.
What's
Lighting
this
besides
one up here?
composition is my other amazing thing. I love it. Dramatic
Oh
lighting
yeah.
really makes a
Oh
difference
yeah.
in a lot of
What's
photos.
the story on this? Wasn't
The reflections is interesting. That was the man on the horse is from a Civil War reenactment in Lake County
ah
when they had the
okay.
Lake County Civil War days, and
Okay.
then the the lake is from, I can't remember the name of the preserve. It's right off of 173. It's as you continue to go east on 173, it's past where you get on the expressway to go to Wisconsin. That
Uh, Daniel Woods,
no, it's
something Daniels.
I can't remember.
I think I
I
know which
know.
one you. I think I know which
Yeah,
one you
yeah.
mean.
It's got a long walking trail around the whole lake.
Yeah.
They had a boat ramp there and everything. But anyway, so that's there. And this was actually one of the first paintings I had tried combining references for.
Ah.
And so it actually worked out pretty good. I was really happy with it.
Yeah.
It ended up getting donated at the time for wounded veterans at the Wisconsin Horse Show, which was
Oh,
kind of
that's
neat.
good.
And so helped raise a lot of money for that, which was really kind of cool. But that's one of the first ones also I did with landscape. I really just don't do many landscape. in the background there as well.
Yeah.
That's another one on the
Yeah.
lower
Now,
right from the
yeah,
Civil War
I was
days.
gonna say this one down here is sort of interesting too.
Yeah, I love history, and so I love historical art, which is probably why I love American history. And so the Civil War days was always something I kind of attended. It gave me a lot of good horse reference,
Yeah.
things like that. I was also very fortunate. One of my classmates from vet school is a track veterinarian, and he was a track veterinarian at Arlington before they closed. And he came out one day, and I did rounds with them, and so I got a fair amount of, I got a ton of references that day, and painted a few of those
Yeah.
as well. So
Yeah. If someone's watching this, they don't understand the reference to Arlington. It's Arlington Racetrack,
yes,
and
oh yeah,
it's
Arlington
on
Racetrack. Yep,
no, circuit. I
yep.
know it fairly well. I was thrown out of there 3 times. So,
Oh,
so
I dare to want to ask why, but I'm kind of wondering if we have time or if the audience
they,
needs to listen to this.
no,
You should
no,
enlighten us on this. It
it's a
sounds like a worthwhile story.
yeah, it's actually a short story. It's just they don't allow professional photographers in there because they have a photographer on staff
Oh,
who
yeah,
makes his living off of that.
yeah.
So so one time I was walking out and I had my camera equipment, actually a camera bag, nice camera with lens, what have you, and a security guard stopped me and asked me, what I was doing. And I said, "Oh, I just, I do this as a hobby." And so we let him go. But another time, I was out there by the rail, and this other photographer's out there. He's got a tripod. Okay, so he's got a tripod. I'm sitting there beside him with a long lens. Security guard comes up and it says, "I'm sorry, we don't allow professional photographers in here. You two are gonna have to leave." And he didn't want to hear anything else, you know.
Yeah. Oh
So,
no.
so yeah, yeah. So we don't have that problem anymore since the
Yeah,
track
since it
closed
closed.
down. So,
Yeah.
so that's too bad because I was tempted to start going back there. That was back in
Yeah.
like the '80s or
It
something.
it was it was really great. He did they do the rounds in the morning. So he would go there, he'd show up like 6:30 in the morning, and he'd be doing his treatments on the horses and everything. And one of the things they do right away in the early morning is the horses would do their workout. And so this was early fall. It's probably in the early, upper 40s, low 50s. Horses are jogging around the track with their trainers and stuff, and the steam is coming out of their nose and the mouth and everything, and the sun was just kind of rising, and so it made for some really neat lighting and some good
Excuse me. Yeah,
angles.
yeah. Okay. Anyway, all right. Whoops, whoops, whoops. Uh, See, now you got other animals. Okay, and I'm looking for
Another
one.
snake.
Nice little sandpiper. I got a beautiful shot of a sandpiper over at Hastings Lake. Uh,
Yep. That one was from Florida when we went
yeah.
there. I was at a vet conference there actually, and so yeah, trying to bring your camera everywhere, is an
Oh
important
yeah,
part of this because you
yeah.
never know what's going to be there.
Camels. Actually,
Yep, that's
I
at
was
Milwaukee Zoo. The camels were from Milwaukee Zoo.
ah
Um, so, yep, they had all three of them there, and I kind of wanted to make the
oh
distinction of like kids being a little bit different than their parents. There,
yeah
he's kind of the tough, punky kid with the grass in his mouth,
yeah
the hay. So,
yeah. Looking at the duck cell. Uh, have you ever seen a coot? Sometimes they
not that
call them mud
I don't
hens.
think.
What have you?
Yeah,
It's
tend to
basically
breed.
it's basically an all black duck with bright red eyes, and
Hmm.
they migrate through here. And last fall I got absolutely wonderful pictures of them, and they have the ugliest legs in the world. I mean, it is incredible how ugly and big it's like. I compared them to I grow 4 o'clocks out here in our garden, and
Yeah.
those 4 o'clocks, the stems start looking as they get bigger, and it look like bones. I mean, they actually look like bones. They got joints in them and everything.
Yeah.
Coots have legs just like that.
Like that.
I'll have to show
I'll
you a
have to
picture
I'll
of
have to
them
Google
sometime.
that when I'm done. Yeah.
But I'm expecting them to be migrating back through, springtime now. So
Yep.
I keep going down looking at them. But if you ever want to do a coot,
Yeah, no,
you
well, I
should be able
probably
to
don't
catch
want to
them
put
down.
the legs on it.
Oh, I don't know. I think that'd make a great picture.
Yeah, yep.
I mean, you show,
No,
and this is one of the things I'm doing with my avian photography is I'm calling it avian portraits, but I'm trying to do shots that do not look like the normal bird
yeah,
shots. Okay, I had one
that's
down at
important.
Adler last month,
Yeah,
in the show down there, uh, that I took a swan, and this is a young swan that I took in the fall when he had some feathers in now, but they weren't all white. They were a tan,
yeah,
light brown,
yeah,
tan and white combination. And I got a picture of him, and I did sort of like an abstract out of it. And so he's got his one wing up here. He's got his head, his head down like
yeah.
this with the long neck, and his body down here. And that's all you see. You just see this mass of feathers in the picture,
Yep, yeah,
And I've got a lot of comments on it. And it's not the way people would expect to see a picture of a
yep.
swan.
You brought up a really interesting thing about the abstractness of animals. There is that actually was one of my things. I remember in high school doing a project and that was enlarging um, photos to paint or enlarging your subject
Hmm.
to the point of abstraction, kind of like the
Yeah.
George O'Keeffe kind of type thing, right?
Yep.
And so in doing that, that's also a reason I think why, a lot of my work is more closer up, for
Hmm.
that stuff. But you brought up also another good point of really trying to be different with some things, different crops, different ways of looking at things. And so I think that really, really kind of starts setting people apart. That's how you
Yeah.
get your art more noticed. It's like, wow, I haven't seen that before,
Yeah.
type of a thing as well.
And that's what I did I was working. I'll continue to work on it. I did another project called Secret Life of Flowers, and that was the whole purpose of it, is to take pictures of flowers the way people normally don't see them or even think about them. And so I did one. It was a black-eyed Susan, and you could just see the petals up here, but it was a black-eyed Susan bud. And so
Oh,
it was the bud with the black-eyed Susan petals up here, and you don't realize how much hair is on flowers and buds. I
I
mean,
know.
it is. They need to
Yep.
learn how to shave. It's like, but I did that. It blew up. It took first place at the photography
Nice.
in
Well, congrats. Yep.
contest. So,
No, you're
s-
right. I mean, uh, trying to get, one of the things I try to do again, like we talked about, trying to pull off the bark, but trying to put your hand out and like, you'd be surprised how many people have never felt a sheep. You know what I mean? Something
oh
like
yeah,
that. Or,
yeah,
have really, a lot of times, especially in wild animals, hair isn't soft. It's quite coarse and it grows in
yeah,
clumps. They're not getting groomed every day, every
yeah.
weekend at the groomer.
Oh yeah,
So, and the coat is dirty and stuff like that. Same thing with like the sheep down there. They, it's kind of all clumpy and oily and dirty and everything. And so, people who know that, um, it's kind of neat because I think it maybe resonates and connects with them a little bit more just because they feel, with a sheep like that, you can stick your fingers in between all those. You know what I mean? It's not
yeah.
like hair; it grows in
Oh
clumps
yeah,
and stuff.
oh yeah,
So again, being an observer, I think, is really kind of important to try to see all the little things that are there and trying to bring those to the viewer, like you're doing too, as well. It's kind of
yeah,
neat.
yeah. The other one
So a
I
lot of
like
those,
that
the older
I
one, yeah, and then a few
yeah.
human pictures. Like I said, I like history. I don't do really much stuff at all.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Tom Troush does watercolors, and he goes down to those reenactments too. And
yeah,
he actually, if you go out there on YouTube, I did a short, like 3 minute video of his work, basically around the things that he shot at the reenactment. Okay,
yeah,
or he painted from the reenactment style, and it's just I forget what's called Tom Troush portfolio, something like that.
okay,
But it's just about
yeah,
like 3 minutes of
yeah,
just his work, some music
yeah.
attached to it.
Yep.
So
So yeah, there's a few paintings I've finished that haven't been updated here. Um, They are again kind of I'm holding them out for shows, and there's kind of I don't know if other people do this as well, but you kind of don't want to post them on social media or anything for fear of like potentially influencing a judge or something like that. So I know a number of artists who don't do it. Maybe it's superstition. I don't know, but generally I don't do that. So virtually all
Well,
these oh, go ahead.
oh no, I was gonna say I don't post on the social media in particular, and especially with this AI.
Oh, I
Uh,
know.
this
Yep.
this really sort of irritates me because technically, okay, legally, what it is my understanding, is that you, for educational or news purposes, you're allowed to scrape anything you want, okay? As long as it's being used for education or news services.
Yeah.
So all these AI programmers, when you program an AI program, you need something as a data source
Yeah.
for it to go and look at and create the images and what have you. Well, legally, they cannot do that. However, when they get an educational institution or they set up an institution for research,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
they can collect everything they want and then they sell it.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
give it access to these AI companies, and now they have all this stuff. I actually was looking at a video on YouTube where they were showing that here's how it works. I think it was Da Vinci, something like that. And I'm looking at, and the guy's doing it. He's saying, "Yeah, we'll have it generate these pictures for us. We'll pick the picture we like, and then we'll go in and we'll modify it." So it's not real. I'm really creating art. Okay. And I'm looking at one thing he modifies this. Oh, and there's this little blur down here that, oh, here, I'll just Photoshop that out. Yeah,
Yep.
that little
Yeah.
blur was obviously an artist's signature.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
And so they've got a number of lawsuits going against these places
Oh yeah. Yep.
because
Oh,
they're
it's
not,
scary for
yeah, they're
anybody in
not,
the visual arts, even in music now. A lot of that stuff, anything in visual arts, it's scary.
yeah,
With some of that. That
yeah,
painting
so
with the bird on there in the bark. Again, that was one of the I love bark, and so that was a real
yeah,
challenge. That one was from Colorado. We were out there for my wife's cousin's wedding, and
yeah,
so that nuthatch the was on the bark, and for me it was like that looks like all the old cool pine bark. Again there too that you could
yeah,
just kind of snap off some of those
pine
things.
or cedar, yeah,
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 yeah, exactly. Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Okay, I was sort of hoping to find the chameleon out there.
Oh, it's not on
D-
there. Oh my gosh, I better add that.
Yeah, I was
That
gonna
is not
say,
even on there.
I don't see it anywhere. I see your
No.
little
Wow.
uh,
I had thought I had added that.
cicada.
Thank you for pointing that out to me. I will do that right away. But no, it
Yeah.
is not on there. Wow.
Oh,
Yeah,
and then there.
the chameleon, yeah, that is from the cabin up north. Yep. And so that I love the one again, the tree bark again was a lot of fun to paint, and
Yeah,
um, but
I
I
love the
tried
way
to
you do
get
it.
that look of squirrels trying to figure out, okay, am I going to go up the tree? Am I going to run down, or am I going to go back up again? They're kind of in that moment of indecision all the time.
I have a T-shirt that I wear. It says, "I have the decision-making capability of a squirrel crossing the road."
That's perfect. I need to find that
Oh
because
yeah,
yes, I think that is exactly what they do.
yeah.
That's what the
It's,
squirrel
oh
is
no,
doing
this way,
actually
no, this
right
way,
now.
no, this way.
Yep.
Ah,
Yep.
you know.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, all
Well,
right.
I apologize about the chameleon. I'm going to have to add that. Wow, how did I oversee that? Well, that's going to be in my next batch of uploads for sure. But
All right, okay. It's been fun. Do you teach pastels
art,
anywhere or anything?
excuse me.
I
No,
know
but I am
you.
actually giving. Yeah, I am actually giving my first workshop in the summer in August at the Kentucky Horse Park in Lexington, Kentucky.
Oh,
So it's going to be a pastel workshop there. So that'll be my first one. It'll be kind of really exciting. Again, uh, I found out, unfortunately, that a few of my equine horse idols are going to be taking the class, so it's going to make me kind
Hey,
of nervous for now. So, but we'll see.
take it as a well-deserved compliment.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we're going to try to learn from each other, I think, at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah. Well, let me know. I mean, we're always looking for artists locally here, which you are, to do a workshop for us.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
we got
wonderful.
one scheduled in April for with Tom Troush,
Okay.
and Matt Mike Latala has said he would like to do a workshop for us.
Okay.
But I
That would be
would
actually.
like to put you on the list too.
No, that would be great. And if we can, if I get it done before August, that
Oh,
could
I
be a kind
yeah
of a warm up. Or if we get it after, that'll be kind of where I can put all that I learned into place, what not to do while in
yeah.
Kentucky, and then do that later. So,
I'll have to pass this on to our workshop director here.
coordinator,
He's
yeah.
yeah, Jim Brookshire, another great artist, uh, who he schedules them and what have you, so sets them up for us. So I will pass your name on to it. We'll see what happens. We've been trying to get
Oh,
them
thank
going
you.
again. We haven't had as much luck as I would like to have had as far as the number of people signing up and what have you. But I think once we get more of them going and get them scheduled, in appropriate
Yeah,
time frames,
regularly.
then
Yeah.
then hopefully we'll get one. Pastel is one thing that we usually the ones that we see draw the most are watercolor and I think pastel.
Oh, okay. Well, that's nice to
So
hear. Yeah,
so
pastel sometimes too doesn't get the glory of like oil painting and stuff a
yeah,
lot of the
yeah, and I
I
don't
think a couple
understand why.
reasons. It's, I think a potential couple reasons. I think some oil painting, insofar as actually like prepping for shows and stuff, is nicer because you don't have to frame it under glass, and so you're often not limited by size. You know, if you start getting to
Yeah,
a big size, the glass on a pastel painting will be really heavy and really expensive.
yeah,
So it's
yep.
kind of limited to smaller sizes a little bit. Um, and I think you're talking about trying to be different. I think some of the, for me, um, I definitely try to be a little bit different pastel wise than typical pastel artists that you'll see.
Yeah.
Generally, most of the pastel stuff that you'll kind of see is generally bigger strokes, wider strokes with the side of the pastel, um, and the subject matter generally tends to be more portraiture or landscape. Um, so um, so yeah, kind of being a little bit different. I'm probably, since I really didn't have much formal training at all, I tend to probably have learned a lot of things that would make people gasp, if watching me do it, doing it how, type of a
That
thing.
well, that's not
Um,
necessarily a detriment.
yeah,
Because
exactly.
I know when I interviewed and she did a demo for us, Sagnita Futke,
Okay.
uh, she was not trained. She was actually she drew a lot when she was in high school and college, what have you, but she didn't really take any courses or anything. And she actually got a degree in accounting. And
Oh,
she went into business and went into a job in accounting in a big company and what have you. And another whole nother story for another time as far as how she got started. But anyway, she got started selling her work and found out that she was making more from selling her work than she was
wow.
from her job. And so she quit her job, her accounting
Yeah.
job,
Yeah.
and became an artist full time.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
she had a painting in she had one of her works in an embassy. She's had stuff across the seas and galleries that were
Yeah.
there, what have you. So as well as here in America. So
Yeah.
it's not necessarily
Yeah.
just education. And I didn't
Yeah.
take photography or any art classes myself.
Yeah.
I took math and science, and I was a computer programmer
Yeah.
and manager for a while in IT. And the
Yeah.
photography I just learned on my own.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, it's kind of
but
neat. Someone
it seems to
watching might
work.
say, "Wow, I never thought of doing it that way." I was trained in a certain way, or
Yeah,
whatever. So, yeah. So anyway, it tends to work for me. And so may not work for everybody, but yeah, that's kind of the fun part, is discovering, new ways of doing things, and um, yeah, hopefully trying to bring that to others down the road. And
yeah,
yeah, the teaching and my job has really been helpful insofar as And it was always too with being a vet too that you're often looking at trying with art. It's interesting because I view sometimes art as trying to solve a problem. Interestingly as well, I have a goal I need to get to, and how am I going to get there?
Yeah,
And so I sometimes for good or bad, I've kind of done things the long way when I really didn't need to,
yeah,
and that I discovered later.
oh
Um,
yeah,
and
yeah,
so it's kind of neat to try to see how to approach it from different angles. I basically I use basically like a quadrant or rule of thirds and sketch out my drawing, but I don't plan it quite as much as I should. And again, it's sometimes for the detriment because sometimes I'll go through it and it's like, oh, excuse me, I need to change that.
yeah,
That didn't work out the way I planned, and made it harder for me. Um, but I like being able to get more spontaneity on the
yeah,
canvas. I don't want to just or on the paper, so to speak. But
yeah,
yeah, I don't. I want to try to have it be a little bit more fresh looking than it like if it was so planned out.
yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I I will see you. Uh, what, a week from this coming Monday? I think
Monday,
the
yep,
18th.
18th, I think,
You're going to
yep,
be doing a live demo for us at
yep,
the over at the bank
yep.
for the Lake County Art League,
Yep.
and
I'll be
we will
doing
have
a
to.
bird painting. Yep, a bird painting again from the Salt Lake River. So,
Okay.
but it's going to be a piece that I think will be hopefully illustrative of the different techniques that I use anyway for pastels and how to get
Yeah.
a lot of different effects on of the actual painting itself. So
Okay.
hopefully it'll work out good. Should be fun.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
Okay. All right. You can find his work, which we were looking at tyjart.com. And in the ending credits here, if you want to look at his work or contact him on Facebook or Instagram, you will have that information in the credits here. With that, John, I would like to say thank you for doing the interview, and I'm looking forward to the demo next on the 18th.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me. It was great to meet you. And yeah, like I said, excited about the demo. It should be a lot of fun.
I always enjoy the demos, even though I'm a photographer. I also do some digital art, and I pick up a
Oh,
lot
neat.
of stuff
Yeah.
from artists. So
Yeah. Yep.
okay, we will say goodbye.